Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing really well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you another tutorial video on how to put together the Cricut pop-up cards. I love making pop-up cards, but sometimes I find the instructions that Cricut provide to be quite difficult to follow. So I love to make these videos to make life simple for you. This is the card that we're going to make today. It is the pop-up toolbox card. It's a really lovely one, and as you can see, it's got a lot of detail in it just there. This would make a brilliant Father's Day card, a birthday card, or for somebody to say thank you for helping you with some DIY in your house maybe. But I really love this card and how it's turned out. So let's jump straight into making this card and get started. Before we get started with finding the project, then let's just go through the items that we're going to need to actually make the project. So you're going to need a selection of cardstock for this project. There are, I think, 4 different colours in this project. So the Cricut Design recommends red, yellow, like a silvery grey colour and a black. But you can choose whatever colour cards you like depending on what the person that you're giving it to likes. So the other things that you're going to need tools wise, I've got them all here in front of me. You're going to need, and a scraper, I forgot that nearly. So you're going to need a scraper or a squeegee. You're going to need a brayer. This is the one piece of kit that you will 100% need if you've got a Cricut. I use this for every single project, and if you've watched any of my other videos you'll know how much I love my brayer. You are going to need some glue. Now I'm using this Collal glue. This is a nice clear glue. It dries completely clear. You can't see it if you've got a bit of overspill, and I love this. And I've just decanted that into one of my precision bottles here. You will need a scoring wheel or a scoring stylus. So I've got both, but I am going to be using the wheel today, and I'm actually using the single scoring wheel. This is the double one I've got here, but I'm going to use the single one. If you don't have the scoring wheel, use the scoring stylus and just pop it into clamp A on your machine. You'll need your fine point blade, which is the one your machine comes with. Just check that there's no debris on that blade just by pressing that plunger down and having a look at the blade to make sure it's nice and clean. Then you're going to need some tools. So I've got my True Control set here. I'm going to use a weeding tool, and I've got a knife in there as well. If you've got one of these spatulas, it does come in handy when you're getting things off the mat, especially if your mat's quite sticky. So I've got that on hand as well, just in case. I might not need it, but just in case. And then I've got a light grip cutting mat as well. One thing that I would say about this project is make sure that your cutting mat is relatively new or nice and clean and very sticky. Because we're working with cardstock, sometimes it can be difficult to cut, and it always helps to have a nice, clean, super sticky mat to help with that. Here we are then in Cricut Design Space, and this is the home page that you'll get when you first open up Design Space. So I'm just going to show you now how to find the project, which the project is, and how to use it to make your card. So when you're on this screen, there's a couple of different ways of finding it. At the moment, because obviously Father's Day is coming up, it is a Father's Day design. If you just scroll down a little bit here, you'll see there's a section that is headed Let's Hear It for Dad. And there's a few different projects here. If you go over here on the right hand side, just one click, you'll see this project here, the Toolbox pop-up card. So this is the one we're going to be making today, but there are lots of other designs here, and there are some Father's Day designs in the Crazy Cool Cards section as well. If we just click on that, it's going to come up and tell us everything about this particular project. This is a Cricut Access project, so if you have a subscription you'll be able to get this project for free through Cricut Design Space. If you don't have a subscription, you will be able to buy it and you'll be able to use it that way. So it tells us everything about the project here. It tells us how long it's going to take. It is an advanced project and it will take 2 to 3 hours to make. I'm going to let you know how long it takes me to make, because I actually don't think that this one is as involved as some of the other pop-up cards that are on Cricut Design Space. I reckon I'm going to have this done within about an hour. So this card size is 5 by 7 inches. If you want to change that, I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So then it gives us a list of the materials that you're going to need. So cardstock in yellow, black, grey and red, and then a matte, adhesive paper, scoring wheel or scoring stylus. Then it tells you what to do to assemble all of your pieces. Now the reason that I film these videos for these assemblies of the pop-up cards is because I think these instructions are very hard to follow, and I personally prefer to watch somebody do this and where to put all these tiny bits of card than to try and look at these photographs and figure it out myself. So I'm doing the hard work for you here. You can follow along with me and make this card, and you'll make it in such an easier fashion than you will if you're trying to follow this. Let me have the headache with that. I am going to use a pre-cut envelope. I'm not going to make the envelope because I don't want to be bothered with doing that today. If we just click on customize, it's going to take this project through to our canvas, and it's going to show us all the pieces on the right hand side in the layers panel when it does eventually come up on the screen. There we go. It's all these pieces here on the right hand side that are going to cut out, so there's quite a lot of pieces. Let's just zoom that in a little bit down to 50%, and you can see all of the pieces that are going to cut. So I first of all am going to ungroup this, and I'm going to just delete the envelope because I don't want that. Okay, now I'm going to just select all again, and the reason I'm selecting all is for those of you that wish to change the size of the card. What you'll need to do is make sure everything is selected so that when you change the size it will change in proportion with all the pieces that are going to cut. So just use this drag handle to change your size, but as I say, make sure everything is selected on there in one box. Alright, so that is ready to go. I'm leaving my size as it is. I'm just going to click through to make it, and it's going to show us now all the different mats that we've got. I'm going to be using A4 sheets today of cardstock and paper, so I want to change my material size to reflect that. It's super easy to do. If you just come over to the material size box and just click on the drop down, and then you can just select A4 on there. I'm just going to do it for every sheet, even though I may not need to with some of them. So this one here, I'm going to actually select that there, and I know it's going to switch that onto two mats like it has there. This is unnecessary, so let's nest this together. And nesting is when we put more than one piece onto the mat so that it utilises the material and we don't waste quite so much. So on mat number 4, I'm going to first use this rotate handle here. I'm going to flip that piece around 90 degrees and just push it back up into that corner. Now I'm going to click onto mat number 5, and then can you see these 3 dots on this grey circle here? If I just click on that and then I click on move object, it's going to show me all of the different mats that I have available, and of course I want it to be yellow. So I'm going to click on that yellow mat and click on confirm, and it's popped it on there the other way round. So what I want to do again is use this rotate handle to turn that round 90 degrees, and then I can just pop that in there, and now I've saved myself a whole sheet of card. Rather than wasting it and using 2, I've now saved that. So when we go through to continue, this mat will actually disappear from the cut. The last mat I've got is this one for the black items here, and I'm just going to click on A4 again, and there we go, that is perfect on there. If I click through to continue, it's going to find my machine, and then we're going to use the setting for medium cardstock. I think for this one I've got medium cardstock here. If you do want to use a different setting, just go through to browse all materials and choose your setting there, but I'm going to choose medium cardstock, and then I'm going to cut all these out and I'll come back to you once that's all done. Here are all the pieces then cut out, and I have used mostly medium cardstock for this. This is from Hobbycraft, and then this one is a linen effect one that I got on Amazon, so I'll link all this down below for you. The reason I like this is the colour of it is really like tooly, I guess. Is that a word? I don't know. But I love the colour of this, and it does cut nicely. I just need to weed out those last few sections there, but that won't take very long to do. So we've got those. those pieces are extra, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those in a little bit. So these are all the black pieces, which are the tools and the little bits of tool handles and stuff. So that's that there. Put those to one side. Then I've got the inserts for the cards here. So they've cut quite nice. There's a couple of little sections on here that didn't cut that well. Let's just move that piece. So there's a little bit there that caught very, very slightly, as you can just see, but I don't think you're going to notice that. So I won't bother to recut that. For the setting on this card, I actually changed my setting from the medium cardstock setting to cardstock for intricate cuts. If you haven't got that setting on your favourites, if you just go to browse all materials when you go through to choose your material setting and just type in intricate, and it'll bring up cardstock for intricate cuts, and I find that that works really well. It gives 2 passes over it, but obviously not as heavy of a pressure as it would do if it was on a medium cardstock straight away. Then I've got my toolbox here, which has got score lines and these little cutouts here for slots. Then I have the outer piece of my card here, which has scored really nicely down the centre, and I have kept the pieces that I've weeded out here, and I'm going to put those onto the envelope afterwards, so it just makes the envelope a little bit more jazzy as well. So first of all, what we want to do is just pop everything that we're not using over to one side, and we're going to use the black and the grey pieces to start with. So let's just begin by getting rid of all these last few bits that need to be weeded out here. Next we need to assemble our toolbox inside. So I've just placed on here the pieces that are going to be glued onto here. And then there are duplicates of each of these to go on the opposite side here. So I'm just going to grab my glue, and I might actually bring out a pair of tweezers. So just these needle nose tweezers, because it does make it a little bit easier if you're gluing really small tiny pieces to pick them up with the tweezers and put them on. But we'll see how we go without them to start with. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue onto here. Don't go too mad because you don't want it to spill out. Then I shall just carefully just pop that piece onto there, and then do the same for the other one. Make sure you get them the glue on the right side, because that would be very annoying to put the glue on the wrong side and end up having to recut. So if you're going to use your tweezers, now that you've got your glue on, if you just grab your tweezers and then you can just pop that into the right spot. Because the glue is a wet glue, it does allow me to move my little pieces of card around if necessary. I am going to turn that over and pop my little pieces on this side as well. At first glance, I'm thinking that this card doesn't look quite as complicated to put together as some of the others that I've made. I do like to do the pop-up cards that you get in Cricut Design Space as little tutorial videos, just because I think it's difficult to follow their instructions in Design Space. I hope that you enjoy these sorts of videos showing you how to do things, because I think it makes things easier. I'll pop the other ones that I've done up above throughout this video so you can have a look. I think I've done 2 or 3 now. There was a really lovely sunflower card that I did for my niece back in March, and then there was a Christmas tree one and a snowflake one, which I did in about November last year. So with the hammer piece, I'm putting my hammer piece on there first, and then I've got my screwdriver handle which I'm going to pop on afterwards because they overlap one another. It doesn't matter too much because I don't think you are going to see much of this once it's in the toolbox and it's arranged, because I think it'll be down into the toolbox. Let's put that on there. Let's turn that over and just do the same on the other side. Just place your item on and make sure that you've got it the right way around before you put your glue on. I'll link all the materials that I've used down below for you if you want to grab the same ones that I'm using, and I'll put a link to all my different tools as well. I'm just going to put my finger on this one and just hold it down a little bit while it dries because it is lifting up. Okie doke. The next piece that we're going to assemble is the actual toolbox itself. So you're going to need this piece, and you'll also need this, which is the handle of the toolbox. So first things first, let's fold all the score lines, and we want to fold them away from ourselves. So let's do that. Okay, so that is our toolbox. We're not going to glue this piece together just yet because we're going to put the tools inside first. So let's grab these tool pieces, and you can see on these pieces here we've got these little tabs at the end with like notches in them, and those are going to go into the sides here. So you can now choose which way around you want it to go. So I'm going to put, I think, my hammer in this one. So we're just placing that notch into the little slot that's on the side of the toolbox, so you can see that there. And I'm going to now just get my spanner one, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing and just pop that into there like so. Now I'm going to turn this around and pop this one into here. And you want to be careful that you don't rip those little notches. Okay, then we're going to do the same with this one into these two slots just on the side here. Can be a little bit fiddly, so again, just take your time. If you want to free up some space with your notches, you could use your craft knife or a little weeding tool just to get in there a little bit better, but those have gone in pretty well. Okay, so now we're happy with that. We can bend that last tab over, and we're going to glue that in to there in a second. Before we do that, we're just going to grab our handle piece, and that goes in the top here. There's a tiny little slot in the top here. I don't know whether you can see it. It doesn't show up very well because it's so small. You can see that there, and then there's a tiny little slot here too. If we just pop those two together, and then again on this side we'll just pop those two slots together in there. Now let's glue this toolbox together here. So if we just grab a bit of glue and just go around the top here, and we're just going to hold that until it is nice and dry. That'll take a couple of minutes just to cure, and then that will be stuck nicely there. Next we're going to take our insert pieces, which are my yellow pieces in this case, and we're going to put our toolbox inside of it. So on the yellow pieces you're going to see that you've got two slots here, one that's quite big and one that is half the size, and these correspond with the two tabs that you have on the underside of your toolbox here. So what you're going to do is just put in that tab to that particular slot that it corresponds with, so the small one into the small one, and then you're going to put the bigger one into the bigger one. This is quite a simple process, however, as you can see, when you're doing the one, the other one usually comes out. So just take your time again and just pop that one into there. Okay, so they are in their corresponding slots now, and that is all good. What we're going to do is bring in our main card piece now. So here is our red card piece. I'm going to fold it along that score line. Just give that a good press down. If you want to use your brayer or your squeegee to give that a nice crisp fold over, you can do, but I don't think it's that necessary in this instance. What I'm going to do is slide that underneath my yellow cards, trying not to get those out of each other. There we go. So that is in there like that. What I'm going to do is just check the folding action of the card. So I want to make sure that when it folds, it's going to fold with the card inside of it. So let's just try that now. Yeah, that's going to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just fold this over, and I'm going to glue one tab in, and I think I'm going to choose the big one. So let's take that one off. I'm going to just position my fingers on the other side, and I want to put some glue on this side that's going to touch the yellow piece. And this needs to be stuck down pretty well so that it doesn't hinder the pop-up feature of the card. So make sure that you've got it nice and close here and that your tab is all the way in. I am going to move that out of the way and just press that down on that whilst I wait for that to dry. Okay, once that is pressed down nicely, what I'm going to do now is pop my other tab back in to there. I'm going to fold that over, and I am going to glue that second tab down as well. So let's just pop a bit of glue onto there. And we're just going to press that one down, and again just wait for that to dry. That is in there, so that now creates that nice fold. What we want to do now is bring in our main card piece, and we're going to glue these down. So there is our center line, so we want to make sure that it's in the right place. We don't want it so that it's going to fold wrong or anything like that. Now, a piece that I am adding on to this card, because I have made a little error, and I'm going to leave this in the video. I'm not going to change it because that makes it inauthentic, I think, if I change it. So I folded my tab the wrong way, so when I glue this front on, you can see it's covering up that tiny piece of the hammer. So what I'm going to do is just take a small piece of card, and I'm actually going to cover that with it. So I've got a piece of scrap gold here. I'm just going to cut a piece off of it, and I'm going to put it in there. I should have checked that really before I put it on, so I'm going to just glue that onto there so that it makes the front a little bit more interesting as well, actually, which I think is quite nice. So let's just do that before we move on to the official next section. It's a bit annoying, but never mind. These things happen when you're crafting. But I think it'll make the front of the card look quite nice as well. So just put that on there. That onto there. Okay, so as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my own mistake. We need to make sure that this is lined up nicely with the fold in the centre of the card, so it's going to fold properly when it is opened. And you'll find that there's a tiny little gap in between your two pieces of yellow, which is absolutely fine. So when you're doing yours, if you've put your tabs the correct way around, you'll need to just make sure you don't put glue where that hole is, but because I've covered mine up with this gold, I don't need to worry about that now. But I'm going to put the glue onto my yellow sheet just to make sure that I don't go over where these measurement cutout apertures are. So let's go around the edge gently with a piece with this glue. So we're just putting the glue all the way around the edge, really, really carefully, making sure that we're not going to touch those apertures. And I am going to put some throughout the centre of the card, just to make sure that it's got a really nice adhesion to that card there. Let's flip that over. We want a small gap there. And then we want to make sure that it's nicely lined up along the top and it's nice and straight. And then we can just fold that over again, and we can do exactly the same on this side of the card. There we go. And then what we're going to do is just open the card again and just make sure that we've got that nicely lined up, so it's got a really good stand up straight look to it. Just carefully press your glue down around your edges, and there we have it. We can fold that up now. There's the front with our improvised gold. I actually think that looks nicer than just being the same colour as the inside. You could also get your Cricut to write on here if you wanted to. You would of course need to do that before you cut your design out, so that it will write in the same place that you want it to. And then when you open it up, there is your toolbox. Doesn't that look fabulous? So I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. Final measurements of the card then are 5 by 7 inches, and I'm just going to use one of my ready-made envelopes that I like to buy from the wholesalers for the envelope for the card. It's just to save me having to use a bigger piece of card really to make an envelope for myself. And when I cut this out, I saved these pieces here. So what I'm going to do is just glue these onto the envelope just to make it a little bit more interesting. I might put them up in this corner, I think. So I'm just going to do this freehand and just make this envelope a little bit more personalised towards the card. And I think it's a shame sometimes to waste the pieces of weeding that we get left over when we're doing a project. So it's nice to find a way of using them in your project still. Put that into there. There we go. So that's saved those little pieces and it's made my envelope much more interesting. This will fit in here perfectly, and when we open it up, there's our pop-up toolbox. I really love the way that this looks. It's such a fun idea. So there we go, there is the finished card. It looks amazing. I'm so pleased with how it's turned out. I hope that you will make your own pop-up card from now on, and don't forget to check out some of the other pop-up tutorials that I have on my channel. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Drop me any questions or comments that you might have down below. I do always try to answer any questions myself quite quickly. I hope you have a great week. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you all soon. Bye!